The RRIP Part 6.
I decided to grab my coffee and wait in the dining area for Mr. Rubin. I hope he's not wearing his sunglasses. I know he won't have the full results of the blood test or the tox screen, but at least he'll give us a clue on which direction to take the case. Once the residents here realized I was a cop, the questions wouldn't stop. Who died? How'd they die? Was it murder? On it went. Rubin finally came through the door and made his way to my table. Well, LT, what info do you want first? How about the paper trail from the Johnson's room? He had a look on his face that I knew he didn't want to answer that question. Nothing, not even the slightest resemblance of the pool you mentioned. But wait for it, LT. Look, just spit it out, Rubin. Okay. Mrs. Johnson's blood showed very low level of prescription meds, which means... I cut him off. I know what it means, Rubin. So either the meds were cut or placebos. You got it, LT. Placebos. Now we're just waiting on the coroner's office to send us the blood samples on the other two deceased victims. That's good work, Rubin. Now I've got a job for you. Find out who administers the meds, if anyone, who orders them. You get where I'm going with this, right? Wound up and keen, he was off. I love newbies. Now I have to head to the Johnson's room. Got a few questions on that insurance policy. But first, I have to get Cruikshank to call the precinct. Still can't find a damn payphone anywhere. Rob finally got the background info on the Johnsons, and even their friend Mr. Tim. The father was clean, as I suspected. His son Bob filed for bankruptcy and currently out of work. No kidding. Also a few minor infractions for illegal betting. As for Tim, he still lives with his parents, does odd jobs, and guess what? Seems to have the same infractions as Bob here. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Cruikshank and I closed the door and sat the three of them down. First, our conversation was directed at Mr. Johnson. Look, I know this is not a good time, but we have to clear things up here so we can eliminate you as suspects. Mr. Johnson, you sold your house, moved in here last year. He just nodded yes. So you have enough money to cover your lease on this grand retirement home. Well, I thought we did, he said in a low voice. But we lent a sizable amount to my son here until he gets a job. Well, Bob, why am I not surprised? Where'd the money go, Bob? His nervous tics kicked in again. Tim didn't look much better either. Tim tried for some time to convince us it was all legit. Cruikshank ripped out the stats for them. It's like this, gentlemen. $4,000 a month or so to live here, and from what I dug up on your financials, Mr. Johnson, your combined pensions won't cut it, and most of your savings from your house are going fast, thanks to Tim here, and the insurance policy on your wife, $250,000. Well, that'll keep you going for a while, won't it? Bob spoke up for his father. You're not saying we caused my mother's death, are you? Well, Bob, convince me otherwise, I said. And Tim, well, that's not even your mother. Because at this point, you're both looking good for the crime. Accidental death? Easy money. Now, Bob, how about telling me about your mother's medication? Bob was more confused than other. What do you mean? He stuttered. I want to know everything. What kind of meds, the dosage, and who made sure she took them every day. Well, Dad took care of that, he said. All I know is that she took a lot of meds every day. So, Mr. Johnson, your turn. He went through the whole routine. Well, as best he could. The only thing that struck me was odd was that the pharmacy delivered the meds on occasion, and they would leave them at the front desk. Mr. Johnson was very forgetful on who picked them up. Bob had no clue. All right, I've heard enough. You guys stay here. Uniform's going to be outside the door. Cruikshank, you're with me. We have to head back to the office. Cruikshank was full of questions. Lieutenant, I think we've got him. They've got motive and the means to pull it off. Yeah, but not the brains. Look, Rob, where's this leading us? Follow the trail. I get it, Lieutenant. The Johnsons look ripe. So does Lucas Holt. Yeah, you might be right about Mr. Holt, but there's one part missing that we'll have to put all the pieces together. And the ones that can help us with that is Miss Powell and her boss, Jack. They were still in the office and more than happy to assist us. Well, Liz, the Johnsons got a gold mine of information. What I'm not clear about is why someone's medications from the pharmacy are at times left at the front desk. You see, Lieutenant, the drivers are always in a hurry, so they'll leave them at the front desk only if someone is there. Then one of my staff will take them to the room. Well, who might that be, ma'am? Whoever's on duty, Lieutenant. Jack approached me and said that the Johnsons' friend Tim was not welcome, but still shows up anyways, as he did today, and he owes a lot of people money, all because of his gambling schemes. Then Miss Powell spoke up. Lieutenant, Tim is often with our girl from the front desk, and I see him follow her when she takes packages to the room. Looks suspicious to me. I thought as much. Well, don't worry, we're on it. Crookshank said to me, Lieutenant, I'm convinced Bob and Tim are looking guilty. I looked back at him and said, "You might say that."